Welcome to Kiwi Bred, an in-depth look into the New Zealand thoroughbred breeding industry. This week we bring you the show from Waikato Stud, where their success continues with the meteoric rise of sire Savabeel. It certainly looks like his progeny have inherited some of his ability on the racetrack.
He was a top-class racehorse in Australia. Obviously he's by Savabeel, so you wouldn't have expected him to run as a 2-year-old, but he did win as a 2-year-old, and he was Group 1 placed as a 2-year-old as well. So he certainly showed that he had ability early, and then to go on and win the Spring Champion Stakes, and then the Cox Plate, the time-honoured Cox Plate. It showed that he was up there with the best of them. And I think at the time he was only the second 3-year-old in 30-odd years to have won the Cox Plate.
But Savabeel took the lead from Regal Roller, then Fields of Omar down the centre. From Starcraft, Savabeel the leader. Fields of Omar is starting to come up from the outside. Starcraft, Savabeel the leader. Fields of Omar and Starcraft trying hard, but Savabeel 3/4 of the lead for Fields of Omar second.
By Savabeel, I mean, how his pedigree is fantastic for stud value, isn't it?
Certainly was. I mean, you know, there's no secrets. When he went to stud, when we bought him, he was a $10 million New Zealand purchase. We've got a fantastic syndicate around him, which we're the major shareholders in. But you're right, he was by Savabeel. And the thing that attracted us to him is he's out of a wonderful mare in Savannah Success, dual Group 1 winning mare herself. But the Success Express side of things sort of just puts a bit of neatness into the horse, and I think a bit of earlier speed as well. He's just an incredible horse to work with. The day that he came off the float, we had the other stallions in the boxes. We put them out and we put him out in a paddock right in front there, and he's a very good doing horse, and he just put his head down, went his head g'day to them, and then just put his head down and started eating, and that's been him from day one. You know, there's only 2 jobs that he thinks about, and that's eating in the breeding shed.
What about his offspring? What appeals about them?
He does leave a very good type. I mean, he's a very dark sort of virgin on black horse himself, and he is double brown dominant. So they're always dark coloured horses, and very attractive. Have plenty of muscle, and they're good horses to work with. The feedback that we get and consistently get is that they're very sound horses, very good doing, which doesn't surprise me at all, because I mean, even during the season he doesn't get fed a lot himself, because otherwise he just puts on too much condition. So very, very sound, very genuine, and very, very good doers, and he's getting a very high percentage of winners to runners, which means that they are getting to the track and showing ability.
300 left to go, and Sangster got to the lead. Manawanui's trying to go with him. Sangster led by 3/4 from Manawanui. 2 lengths in Duna, and then Zabillionaire. Sangster the leader. He chopped off Manawanui as he darts down to the inside. Induna running on. Sangster in front with 75 to go. Induna charging. Sangster about a half in front. Induna diving, but missed. Sangster by a head. Induna.
Brambles in front coming to the 200. Quintessential trying to get out after it, then to Hunger, but Brambles is the leader for the 100 metres left to go. Quintessential trying to bridge the gap. Brambles a length in front. Quintessential can't get there, and Brambles will lead all of the way. A great win of the Derby. Brambles from Quintessential, west-south-west into Hunger.
He had a huge year last year on the back of his success, obviously. This year we've raised his fee to $35,000. You know, based on results, and was about 2 or 3 weeks ago now we've closed his book, so he'll serve a nice book this year, probably a bit less than last year, and we've done that on purpose. You know, the interest coming from Australia this year has really been overwhelming. Really, new clients and people that I haven't actually known in the past, and they've just rung out of the blue and are sending mares over. So that's how he's held in throughout Australasia, and at the end of the day, on the back of 2 derbies and an Oaks winner, that's why he's he's closed at $35,000.
And how do you come upon that $35,000? Is it something you discuss with your father, or who decides the value of the horse?
Yeah, there's the Savabeel management team of myself and Gary, and every now and again we get a bit of advice from Graham Rogerson, as you can imagine. But no, at the end of the day, it is a bit of a juggling act. Obviously, it's a supply and demand sort of situation, and results based. and we do want to look after breeders, but we do also want a full book, you know. So yeah, it's a juggling act, and there's nothing worse than overcooking it and not being able to go on with it in the future. But I think where we've set him this year, obviously he's been popular, and if he carries on the success that he's at this rate, which he will do, because once they're good horses, they're always good horses. They'll go through highs and lows, but they're always good horses. And I think even under the economic situation that we all face with at the moment throughout the world, you could see his fee climbing in the future.
Savabeel appears to be shaping up as one of Australasia's most exciting young sires. Now it's time to hear from the team at South Rangitikei Veterinary Services. Jayne Ivil caught up with Tim Pearce, courtesy of International Animal Health Products.
Tim, when we talk about the castration or gelding of a male horse, we're actually removing a part of their anatomy that's pretty important for breeding. So why do we geld horses?
Well, it's pretty simple. Most of them aren't going to be stallions, and the management of a young colt in a working situation in a stable is very, very difficult. And there's certainly the people that do a good job with colts, but by and large they're a pain, and they really need special treatment to be able to get the best out of them. For the most part, a colt is quite hard to get an honest performance out of. There are exceptions with that, and some of the better bred horses, obviously, there are many incentives in racing these days to try and create a horse like Darcy Brahma or something like Alamosa. These young horses that have a pedigree that's worthy of doing that too.
Well, we watched a gelding today. Can you talk us through that process?
My preferred way is to do them, and I think in general most vets would agree that a short general anaesthetic is required. It gives you pain relief, gives you the horse well controlled, and you do a better job. The horse is anaesthetised, it's preparing the area and making it surgically sterile and using sterile equipment. And I mean, the procedure itself is not a difficult surgical procedure, but it requires care, and it requires that you do it very systematically with you know, a precision rather than, because it's living tissue.
After the operation, what are you looking for in a horse? What sort of signs do you want to see from it?
Well, first thing, you want them to wake up. That's good, and mostly that with the current methods of anaesthesia, they wake up very well. Often there's a little bit of bleeding. We use an open castration technique, and that's pretty much the norm in this country. And so the wound isn't stitched; it's left to drain, and that obviously the first part of that is that there's no hemorrhage, and we minimise the hemorrhage. And thereafter, we really do need, the ideal situation is that they have a quiet day and then they have quiet work, because getting that horse up and about and doing a little bit of light work means that there's less swelling and generally less complication. Generally you will find that the wound will close together over a period of around about 10 days to 3 weeks, depending on what happens. And some of them, they dependent on the amount of hemorrhage, whether it's the environment's dusty or it's dirty, and if there's any infection occurs. Now, some animals will develop quite a bit of swelling in the sheath and so on because you have removed quite a bit of tissue. If they're exercised well and kept under clean conditions, such as in the paddock that we gelded the horse today, we very rarely have any problems with them. We always use some anti-inflammatories afterwards. Phenylbutazone is used routinely in all our colts. And I think that anyone that's had any surgery knows that invariably there will be a little bit of pain. And we believe that using an anti-inflammatory post-operatively allows them to minimise the swelling, and they move around a little bit better, and they're just a happier animal. And I think that our complication rates dropped hugely by using bute as a routine. One of the things I think that's very important is to ensure that they've either been vaccinated for tetanus prior to the surgery, and that's one of the tetanus is a complication that can occur in any surgical situation, or that they get an anti-tet. In general, our practice, we don't use antibiotics as a routine. There may be, under 5% of the horses that we geld ever get antibiotics. So I think that's important that you do the job right from the start, and you minimise the need for antibiotics in that case.